beyond just the protests that the U.S. has filed, beyond just the protests that the U.S. has filed.
We'll go back here to live now from Fox. Breaking news here. We have just some video that we found and obtained on Twitter of this purported Chinese surveillance balloon that was spotted over the United States. This is from the Twitter user @Martin in Montana. This was spotted in Montana as well. Just want to put up this tweet from our own Josh Breslow. Here's the AP Wire alert of it as well. Pentagon says the Chinese spy balloon spotted flying over the United States has decided not to shoot it down due to risks. That's somewhat comforting. So, according to the Washington Post, a senior U.S. defense official speaking on the condition of anonymity under ground rules set by the Pentagon said that the Defense Department considered shooting it down over Montana on Wednesday, but decided against doing so out of concern for what might happen to the debris. We also have this tweet from here at Live Now. One of the places the balloon was spotted was Montana, which is home to one of the nation's 3 nuclear missile silo fields at Malmstrom Air Force Base. We're also learning Lloyd Austin, the defense secretary, who's traveling right now in the Philippines, convened a meeting of senior defense officials to discuss the issue just today. Let's put this video back up. I want to bring in right now national security expert and CEO of Global Risk Intelligence Planning, Hal Kempfer, with the latest. Hal, this is breaking as we speak. What do you think the Chinese were doing with this? What did they want to obtain information? What have you? What's going on here?
Andrew, obviously they're collecting intelligence. That's what the balloon is for. It's a very passive collector, obviously very long duration because it's a stratospheric balloon, so it can fly up there for a very long time and basically just collect. It could have cameras on it, various other optical sensor systems, infrared, but it also could have some signals intelligence collection means where they're picking up on emanations and things like that from the ground, to include potentially even cell phone signals, all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of things that it could be used for. I don't think the timing is coincidental. With all the things that are going on with their provocations against Taiwan, with the just announced basing agreements with the Philippines, that it would seem that they're doing this to kind of, sort of push the edge a little bit to see what they can do. Now, it's been flying over U.S. territory for a few days. Way back when, I used to work under U.S. Northern Command, and issues of things like this, what would happen if, for example, if they shot that down and it landed and it destroyed property or, heaven forbid, injured somebody or killed someone. These were issues that we have to work through all the time. So it's something that we look at the risk benefit of this. They've obviously decided that right now it's best just to leave it up there, but it's flying over some strategic bases where we have nuclear missile silos. It's also an area where we traditionally have our bombers, our base, our strategic bombers. It's also generally flying in an area that could take it over North Dakota and potentially take it over Grand Forks, which is that base that's been in the news, where we have our Global Hawk, high-flying, long-duration, more strategic unmanned aerial vehicles, where the Chinese want to buy a farm right near that base. And of course, we've said, no, we don't want them to buy that farm near the base to stop potential intelligence collection from the Chinese from that area. Interestingly, this balloon is a stratospheric balloon, so it flies in that same altitude spectrum that the Global Hawks fly. And so the question would be, is it collecting intelligence on Global Hawks? Is it potentially out there simply to obstruct our Global Hawk operations? There's a lot of different things that they're considering, they're looking at with the timing, where it's at. And of course, we're watching it very closely. We're collecting intelligence on the intelligence collection balloon. Yeah. We want to know how much control they have. Is it directional? Can they do some things with it? And we're also looking very closely to see whatever we can see from this distance as far as their collection means. So there's a little bit of, I'm not going to say cat and mouse per se, but there is collection on the collection that's going on. And so there may be some other reasons why we're not wanting to shoot it down as well.
Yeah, I guess my point and my question is, how escalatory could this have gotten? So much so that Lloyd Austin convened his staff in the Philippines on this trip to discuss the very option of shooting it down. If we did take that measure, what would that send to China?
Well, I don't know if it'd be a provocation per se. They violated our airspace. There's a whole discussion, and it's the right thing. This is the decision within the system we have for dealing with these things, particularly in the area of responsibility under U.S. Northern Command when it's over U.S. territory. It tends to go to the Secretary of Defense level. It goes to the White House level in terms of some of these decisions, in terms of what we're doing. So he did the right thing. That's what I would normally expect, is they would stop and have a discussion, and they would do a risk analysis, and they would talk about what they think it's doing, and it'll be all the latest intelligence they have on it. And there's a variety of things that we in the public will never know that were part of that discussion and part of that decision-making matrix, if you will, that led them to where they are right now. Now, if the balloon does something unexpected, maybe we'll revisit that, and maybe we will find a way to take it out. And there could be discussions with the Chinese as far as what's on the balloon, and there may be some other reasons why we don't want to bring it down as well. There could be something with the balloon that has hazardous materials or something like that, and we don't want that landing on U.S. territory.
Hal, I just want to put up, we just got a statement in from Pentagon Press Secretary Brigadier General Pat Ryder. He says the United States government has detected and is tracking a high-altitude surveillance balloon that is over the continental United States right now. The U.S. government, to include NORAD, continues to track and monitor it closely. The balloon is currently traveling at an altitude well above commercial air traffic and does not present a military or physical threat to people on the ground. Instances of this kind of balloon activity have been observed previously over the past several years. Once the balloon was detected, the U.S. government acted immediately to protect against the collection of sensitive information. And Hal, just on that point, also we're learning from other news outlets that U.S. military officials are taking additional steps to obscure sensitive sites, kind of what you were alluding to, just so some of this information the Chinese want cannot be obtained or gleaned, right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the At-Risk International Global Risk Intelligence Insights. We are going to start this week taking a look at an ongoing protest event, actually today on June 13, and then how that may affect the DC area and then also nationwide moving forward. So right now, at the time of this recording, there is an event taking place, a protest event outside of the United States Supreme Court. The event began at Stanton Park this morning and then resulted in a short march over to the court. Presently, they are occupying some of the area outside of the court to put pressure on the court to keep Roe v. Wade upheld. Back in May, there was a leak out of the Supreme Court indicating that due to an ongoing case that the court may.
Well, we want to protect our information. We seem to be having a little bit of a glitch here with the signal, but we want to protect our information. We want to protect the integrity of our military sites up there. On the other hand, we don't want to unnecessarily cause harm. So it goes back to a decision matrix on what they want to do. There could very well be something in that balloon with that system, which could potentially be hazardous if we were to bring it down and spread something out. It could be the power source or something like that on the balloon. I just don't know. I don't know enough about. There's just not enough information about this particular intelligence collection system on a lighter than air sort of thing that we would know what it brings, what could potentially portend. Although we have probably talked to the Chinese directly about this, and I have no doubt that we have a pretty good idea of what that balloon is about because I'm sure we've been collecting intelligence on that. I'm sure it's not the first time this balloon's been used. It's probably used elsewhere around the world. And for this particular balloon, just kind of walking it back a little bit, I'm sure it was being tracked by Indo-Pacific Command over the Pacific. And then obviously it was tracked by NORAD and U.S. Northern Command over the continental United States, over North America. And I would like to mention that at NORAD and U.S. Northern Command, we work side by side with our Canadian counterparts up there. And I've been up there and I've worked side by side with them as well. And so we look at it as all one airspace and we control it. And by the way, we have a lot of capabilities. It's designed that we're supposed to intercept aircraft, missiles, all sorts of stuff. So taking out a balloon isn't really tough. It's just all the stuff that would fall down and where it would fall down that we're a little concerned about.
All right, Hal, we want to move away from this topic.
Let's talk about this with him, for a retired Marine Corps intelligence officer and the president of KIP, strategic risk management firm. Hal, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Derek.
So on this talk of Iran's nuclear threat.
Now to a new development. This is just in. A spy balloon believed to belong to the Chinese has been spotted flying over the United States. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin is at the Pentagon for us. David, what are defense officials, what are they saying?
Well, for one thing, they're saying they are certain this is a Chinese spy balloon conducting surveillance of sensitive military sites in the U.S., including a missile field in Montana where intercontinental ballistic missiles are based. The good news is it's flying higher than any commercial airliner, so it's not a hazard to commercial aviation. And also there's no indication that there's any kind of weapon or anything on it that would pose a threat to people on the ground. And John, this has happened before, including in prior administrations, but it has never lasted for this long.
And David, is this the kind of thing where countries don't like it, but they recognize, everybody's spying on everyone else, and it's a slap of the hand? Or is this something they're spun up about over at the Pentagon, and the kind of thing that, why not shoot it down if they know where it is?
Well, Ed O'Keefe at the White House has been told that President Biden initially wanted to shoot it down when it was over that missile field in Montana. Jet fighters were actually scrambled up to Billings, Montana, to be in position in case he gave the order. But the Pentagon recommended against it, basically because of the danger that falling debris would pose to people on the ground. A U.S. official also added that this balloon is not likely to see anything that the Chinese can't already see with their satellites. So the bottom line was that the risk of shooting it down was greater than the risk of just leaving it alone. But for now, the balloon remains over the United States, and no doubt is going to be a subject of conversation beyond just the protests that the U.S. has filed, because the Secretary of State is about to meet with the President of China.
Right. He has a top item on his to-do list. He has a top item on his to-do list. He has a top item on his to-do list.